All right. Our Lord and Master has many names and titles, such as Lamb of God, Prince of Peace, Lord of Lords, King of Kings, the Good Shepherd, Bread from Heaven, the Word, I Am, many different titles. Sometimes, like with Lord of Lords, it's capital L followed by small l. King of Kings, capital K, small k. Today we're going to take a look at another name of the Messiah, a prophetic name directly related to us. And that name is the branch. Now, 5 times in the King James Version in the Old Testament, that word branch is capitalized. And when you see how it's used, it's obvious it's referring to Yeshua. Okay, I looked up the word branch and the 5 times that it's used in that sense with the capital. One time in Isaiah, it's capitalized, and it's number 5342, Netzer. And it's talking about in the sense of greenness as a striking color, a shoot, a descendant, or a branch, like a lively shoot growing, okay? And then 4 other times in Jeremiah and Zechariah, it's the word semak, number 6780, Tshehmakh, and that is a sprout, a branch, a bud, that which grew upon, springing forth. It's kind of interesting. I have a Bullinger's Companion Bible, and I also have one of his books called A Witness in the Stars. And Bullinger takes you down the road of saying that the zodiac we have today is a perversion, hijacked by the adversary, and it's all goofed up. But the original messages that were in the stars were very prophetic. And one of the images that are in the stars is the Virgin, okay? And the Virgin is holding a branch in her hand. And the brightest star in that branch that she is holding is a star in the Hebrew. It's named Samak, one of these words that I just gave you in the Hebrew. A pretty amazing picture of the Virgin holding the branch, which has a lot of spiritual meaning. First place we're going to go is Isaiah chapter 11, verses 1 through 12. Isaiah 11, 1 through 12. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. That's the capital B branch. And the Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Lord, and shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of the Lord. And he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. He shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed their young. Young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people, to which shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. So here again, on verse 12, I'm sorry. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Something that Terry was talking about earlier. Here again, it's showing you a prophecy about the branch. Many different aspects. How he's going to bring peace to the world, how he's going to regather Israel, how even the nature of the animals is going to be changed. Wonderful prophecies that all refer to the one known as the branch. All right, the second place is Jeremiah chapter 23. Jeremiah 23, verses 1 through 8. It says, Woe be unto the pastors that destroy and scatter the sheep of my pasture, saith the Lord. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God of Israel, against the pastors that feed my people. You have scattered my flock, driven them away. You have not visited them. Behold, I will visit upon you of the evil of your doing, saith the Lord. And I will gather the remnant of my flock out of all countries whither I have driven them, and will bring them again to their folds, and they shall be fruitful and increase. And I will set up shepherds over them, which shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking, saith the Lord. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch. That's a capital V. And a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days Judah shall be saved, Israel shall dwell safely, and this is his name whereby he shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that they shall no more say, The Lord lives, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord lives, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. Here again, the one known as the branch, coming to the rescue of the tribes of Israel, and eventually to all the Gentiles, to the whole earth. And he will be known as the Lord our righteousness. You notice in the beginning of this, he really comes down on the pastors. And a lot of times, Israel, because of their rebellion, their idolatry, their Sabbath breaking, they brought upon themselves a lot of punishment. They got swallowed up. They got taken into captivity. They adapted to many of the pagan practices. A lot of their even their religious services all became contaminated. But here, when you think about physical regathering of the tribes of Israel, there's millions of Israelites out there that have no idea of their stock, okay? But when you look at what happened to the spiritual sheep, they've been scattered too. And that's something that Yeshua talks about. He says the wolf comes, the sheep are scattered, but the hireling doesn't really care for the sheep. So there's a problem that will be addressed by the branch. And he said, I'm going to appoint new shepherds. And it's not going to be about money. It's going to be about love for the sheep, his sheep. And he's going to be the one that's going to be elevated. The men aren't going to be elevated. All right, the third place is Jeremiah chapter 33, verses 15 and 16. Jeremiah 33, 15 and 16. In those days and at that time will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David, And he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. In those days shall Judah be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely. And this is the name wherewith she shall be called, the Lord our righteousness. So here again, it's talking about a healing, a regathering, Israelites coming out of their slavery. And again, it's that capital B branch, all right? Psalms chapter 2. Psalms chapter 2, verses 1 through 6. Somebody asked me a while back on one of our Bible talks, does God laugh at all? And I said, sure he does. I thought this is a pretty good place. Psalms chapter 2, verses 1 through 6. He says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Eternal and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sits in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. All right, that's talking about the reign of the Messiah. And the plans of men, and I think we hear about that even to this day. There's all kind of chatter out there about a new world order and this great one world government. And they think their plans are going to be the answer. Well, the Eternal laughs. He has a different plan. And the one known as the branch is going to be the key. That's going to come back and set it right and make it straight. All right. The next place is Zechariah chapter 3. Zechariah chapter 3. Verses 8 to 10. Zechariah 3, verses 8 to 10. Hear now, O Joshua the high priest, thou and thy fellows that sit before thee, for they are men wondered at. For behold, I will bring forth my servant the branch. Here in this King James Version, the whole word is capitalized, not just the B. I will bring forth my servant the branch. For behold, the stone that I have laid before Joshua, upon one stone shall be 7 eyes. Behold, I will engrave the graving thereof, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. In that day, saith the Lord of hosts, shall call every man his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree. What's mentioned here about that stone and about the 7 eyes, we talked about that a little earlier. Even in Revelation, it talks about the 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits. One stone, one foundation, the foundation of the temple. Yeshua is going to be that cornerstone. 1 Corinthians 10:4 tells us that he is the rock that Israel followed when he brought them out of Egypt. And Revelation chapter 5, verses 5 and 6. Let's turn to that. Revelation chapter 5, verses 5 and 6. It says, and one of the elders saith unto me, weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book, and to loose the 7 seals thereof. And I beheld, and lo, in the midst of the throne, and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb, as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God, sent forth into all the earth. Here again, verse 5 is talking about the root of David. That root is capitalized. And that's talking again about a shoot, a descendant, a branch that is coming out of the tribe of David, out of the tribe of Judah. The next place we're going to go is Zechariah chapter 5, verses 12 and 13. Zechariah 5, verses 12 and 13. That can't be right. Zechariah 5. I think it's Zechariah 8. I'm sorry. Yes, Zechariah 8, chapters 12 and 13. For the seed shall be prosperous, the vine shall give her fruit, and the ground shall give her increase, and the heavens shall give their dew. And I will cause the remnant of this people to possess all these things. And it shall come to pass that as you were a curse among the heathen, O house of Judah and house of Israel, so will I save you, and you shall be a blessing. Fear not, but let your hands be strong. Okay, that is talking about them being blessed, but I'm missing the part that I need right here. The branch is going to build the temple of the Lord. That's what I'm looking for. So any of you scholars could help me out there. Zechariah 6. Okay. Zechariah chapter 6, verses 12. Yeah, okay, there we go. Verses 12 and 13. And speak unto him, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, Behold, the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build the temple of the Lord. Even he shall build the temple of the Lord, and he shall bear the glory, and shall sit and rule upon his throne. And he shall be a priest upon his throne, and the counsel of peace shall be between them both. Now here it's talking about two positions, not only being a king, but also being a priest. And he is going to be King of Kings, and he's also going to be, and he is, our high priest. But the one that's going to build the temple, there's all kind of talk about building a temple. And the ones that are considering the building that temple absolutely, for the most part, reject Yeshua as Messiah. So here it's telling you the true builder of the temple is going to be our returning king. Isaiah chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. Isaiah 4, verses 1 through 4. And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, We will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel, only let us be called by thy name, to take away our reproach. In that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely, for them that are escaped of Israel. And it shall come to pass that he that is left in Zion, and he that remaineth in Jerusalem shall be called holy, even every one that is written among the living in Jerusalem. When the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof, by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. It's interesting that it's 7 women making their request. And I was thinking about the 7 churches and the 7 spirits, and it's talking about a time when the branch, the one that is known as beautiful and glorious, is going to heal Jerusalem, heal Zion. A lot of times Zion is referring to the church, and it's going to be New Jerusalem, the true Jerusalem is going to be the saints. All right. Isaiah chapter 60, verses 21 and 22. Isaiah 60, verses 21 and 22. Thy people also shall be all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in its time. That's a small letter branch. Okay? The branch of my planting. What do you think he's talking about with that small letter branch? You know, a lot of times there's capital K kings, small letter K kings, small letter Lord, capital letter Lord. Well, many times when you're seeing that, he's talking about the believers. And I think no better point to drive that home is the Gospel of John, chapter 15. John chapter 15. And we talked about this out at the feast. I don't know if any of you are watching this series, The Chosen. It's tremendous. It's a tremendous series. It's in its third season. And I heard that there are men on the committee there that try to get the truth put in there that come from the Church of God, that are trying to give their input. But the series is absolutely wonderful. If you get a chance, sometimes you might have to have Prime on your TV. I think TBN is having it occasionally. You could definitely get it on your smartphone. But it's in its third season. And in one of the individual accounts, the disciples are together with Yeshua, and they're building a sukkah for the Feast of Tabernacles. And it's amazing. They're putting the branches up, and they're talking about what it means. But I think John chapter 15 really drives home a point for you and me about the whole branches. All right, John 15, verses 1 through 8. He says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Now, a vine is a shoot, could be a branch. It's a living shoot. All right. Every branch in me that bears not fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he purges it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me. That word abide means dwell, stay attached, remain, endure, tarry, stand. That word abide is used over and over in this account. Abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abide in the vine. No more can you except you abide in me. I am the vine and you are the branches. He that abides in me and I in him, the same brings forth much fruit, for without me you can do nothing. If a man abides not in me, he is cast forth as a branch and is withered. And men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that you bear much fruit. So shall you be my disciples. Here again, we have to be attached to the vine. He is the living vine. He is where we get our strength. And to be attached to him, that means he's living inside of you. The Father is dwelling in him. They are dwelling in us, which it says in John 14:23. If a man loves me, he's going to keep my words, and my Father and I will come and make our home within you, our dwelling. I like a lot of times to go back to the Old Testament, to the Torah, all right? And many times Yeshua quotes from the Torah, really drives home a lot from the book of Deuteronomy. But we're going to go back to Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 40. Leviticus chapter 23, and this is something that we talked about a lot at the feast. And I think it's a great analogy, all right? Something that we need to be thinking about. Leviticus 23 and verse 40. It's talking about building a sukkah. And you shall take you on the first day, the Feast of Tabernacles, the boughs of goodly trees, branches of palm trees, the boughs of thick trees, willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days. Branches. He is the vine. He is the capital B branch. We are the small letter B branches. And he's building a dwelling place. Now, quite a few times I mentioned to you about the qualities of the branches that are used. Olive branches, palm branches, willow branches. But there's strong branches that are also used as supports, to hold up the rest of the branches. Then you think of the qualities of the brethren. Like an olive tree produces a huge amount of fruit. And there are olive trees out there that are brethren that produce a lot of fruit of service, fruit of actually bringing disciples along, new disciples. There are willow tree branches here. What's a willow tree called a lot of times? A weeping willow. There are brethren that know how to cry with you. And they are great to have around. They also know how to laugh with you, but they know how to cry and pray for you when you're in dire straits. Palm trees. A lot of times when a hurricane comes, the palms get hammered, but sometimes, many times, they're still standing. They're all beat up, but they're still standing. And we know brethren that have been through the storms that look beat up. And we're still happy when they're still standing. They're still coming around. And they could be examples. They could be people that, you could rely on. They could share their war stories with you. And they've been through the fire a lot of times. And it's such a good thing to see them standing yet. And they went through it, and they held on with all their might to the branch, to the vine that they're connected to. So we are all in this process of being a building. Pine trees. I love it this time of the year. There are certain places I go. The only thing you're going to find green out there are the pines. And a lot of times you're going to find maybe rhododendrons still keep their greenness. There's places I go up near Beltsville, and the hemlock trees are growing. And if you take a little sprig of that hemlock and crush that up that's the state tree, by the way, Pennsylvania. You take that and crush that up in your hand. What a beautiful smell it is. And there are brethren that produce that fine smell, that incense in their lives. Those are the ones we need. We need each other, because we're being built into this fabulous temple that the Creator is making. And we are privileged that He is using us in that process. Many times in God's Word, He uses a lot of things to symbolize people. He uses birds. He uses trees. He uses wheat. He uses tares. A lot of creatures are mentioned a lot of times to symbolize people. But a lot of times I like what's being used here because it's talking about trees, okay? And it's talking about branches. In Psalm chapter 1, verses 1 through 3, it's a song we like to sing a lot of times. Blessed and happy is the man. I know the kids like that song. But we'll read Psalms chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. Blessed is the man that walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that brings forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Do you notice that it's essential for that tree to be near water? Now, we all heard about living water. We heard about that in Jeremiah. We're not going to go there today. That's a whole other subject. But the source of that living water is Yeshua the Messiah. And he says, a believer, you believe in him, out of your belly is going to be rivers of living water flowing. So this tree needs water to stay healthy, to stay strong, to be able to stand. We talked about the willow. The willow tree goes looking for water. It needs that water to survive. We need the living water to survive, to be the branches that we need to be. I think one of the most beautiful episodes of the branch and the water connection can be found in the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 15. Exodus chapter 15. Another one of these episodes where the Israelites were crying the blues, not content, and sometimes you look at it and they had reasons to be, but they knew how to moan, and I think a lot of times we know how to moan too. But Exodus chapter 15, verses 22 to 27. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink the waters of Marah, for the water they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? He cried unto the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree, which when he had cast it into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them. And he said, If you will diligently hearken to the voice of the eternal thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon you, which I have brought upon the Egyptians. For I am the Lord that heals thee. And from there they came to Elam, where their 12 wells of water were, and 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the waters. But it took the branch to make the water drinkable, to make the water, to heal the water. And that's the same thing in our lives too. He is the source of that living water, and we need to be trees connected to him, and that water needs to be flowing through us for the benefit of others, that we're bearing fruit, a healthy tree. There's places in God's word that talks about this water being healed. Ezekiel chapter 47, verses 1 through 8. Ezekiel 47, verses 1 through 8. I like to picture this. I don't know if any of you were ever river swimmers. When we were kids, the Lehigh River, that was our swimming hole. And there were places that, you could walk across. And there were places that were 10, 12 feet deep. You had to know. Especially if you were jumping off of things and diving into places. All right, but Ezekiel chapter 47, verses 1 through 8. Afterward he brought me again unto the door of the house, and behold, waters issued out from under the threshold of the house eastward. For the forefront of the house stood toward the east, and the waters came down from under the right side of the house, at the south side of the altar. Then brought he me out of the way of the gate northward, and led me about the way without unto the utter gate by the way that looks eastward, and behold, there ran out waters on the right side. And when the man that had the line in his hand went forth eastward, he measured 1,000 cubits, and he brought me through the waters. The waters were to the ankles. Again he measured 1,000 cubits, and brought me through the waters. The waters were to the knees. Again he measured 1,000, and brought me through, and the waters were to the loins. Afterwards he measured 1,000, and it was a river that I could not pass over, for the waters were risen, waters to swim in, a river that could not be passed over. And he said unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen this? Then he brought me and caused me to return to the brink of the river. Now when I had returned, behold, at the brink of the river were very many trees on the one side and on the other. And then said he unto me, These waters issue out toward the east country, and go down into the desert, and go into the sea, which being brought forth into the sea, the waters shall be healed. A lot of times Ezekiel and Daniel, the book of Revelation, are tied directly to that. But it's talking about waters being healed, and it's talking about trees alongside of the water. Trees that are part of the healing process. Let's go to Revelation chapter 22, verses 1 through 4. Revelation 22, verses 1 through 4. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manners of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. And there shall be no more curse, but the house of God and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him. And they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads. It's talking about the tree of life. In Ezekiel, it talked about many trees that were alongside of this river, which got bigger and deeper as it spread out, healing all the nations, healing all the waters of the earth. A lot of times the waters are referring to the peoples, the different nations. And we are going to be part of that. If you stay the course, we are part of that plan by being branches that are connected. We have to stay connected to the vine. And a lot of times I like to think about this. I never did any grafting, but I heard about grafting. A lot of times you got to make a cut into the main vine that's growing there, and then you put that branch in there, and that branch starts to grow from there. Well, our master, he's been cut for us. He's been pierced. He's been cut in his side. And we are grafted into him. He is the one that gives us our life. He gives us the power of his Spirit, the power of the Father's Spirit to be dwelling within us. One last thing I'd like to turn to, Matthew chapter 13. Matthew 13, which is a lot of the parables about the kingdom. But Matthew 13, verses 31 and 32. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is like unto a grain of mustard seed, which a man took and sowed in his field, which indeed is the least of all seeds. But when it is grown, it is the greatest among the herbs, and it becomes a tree, so that the birds of the air come and lodge in the branches thereof. We being branches connected to the Messiah, we are to become like a tree, a big tree, and our branches are going to be reaching out, and the birds of the air are going to make their nests there. Now, if you think a little bit bigger, and you think about the birds that are out there, a lot of times birds are equated with people. They're going to be making their nest in the branches because they know that those branches are connected to the branch, the true branch. And it says, when is this going to happen? You know, it talks about his servants being revealed. I love what it says in John, 1 John chapter 2, I believe it is. Yeah, 1 John chapter 3, I'm sorry. 1 John 3 and verse 2. It says, Beloved, now are we the sons of God, and it doth not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he shall appear, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. There's coming a time the branches are going to be a lot like the branch, the main stalk, the tree, the vine that we're hooked up to. What a tremendous time that's going to be, to see him as he is, to share in his glory, always elevating him above us, and thankful for the opportunity to be part of that healing that's going to come on the whole earth. So today we learned about Yeshua as the branch, the tzemach, a sprout, a shoot, a branch. He is the vine and we are the branches. We will be like our master, the branch, in that day. When he comes back, we're going to be part of the healing. And we're going to help spread that message and share that precious truth with all of the world. Because the whole world is in need of healing. People that never heard the word about the Messiah. We're going to be part of that healing process. So as branches, we need to be woven together. We need to cry with each other, laugh with each other, lift each other up, look for the palm trees that are still standing that went through the storm, and be there to support one another, and always giving glory to the main branch, the one that supports us.